Welcome back, beautiful souls. Today we're diving deep into January 2026. And I have to tell you, this is not just another January. This is the month that sets the stage for the most transformative year of our lifetime. In this video, I'm going to walk you through January almost day by day. I'm going to be looking at the major transits, aspects, and planetary movements with the exact dates, and I will provide degrees as well in some cases. And then we will be looking at your specific sun sign, so I will break it down what this means in your everyday life, your relationships, or your career, your money, or your spiritual journey. And here's the thing, January ends with one of the rarest planetary ingresses we'll ever experience. Neptune entering Aries for the first time in 165 years. So grab your calendar, take some notes, and let's map out your January 2026 together. Before I go into the day-by-day breakdown, let me give you the overview, because context is everything. January 2026 is what I call a preparation month and a transition month. We begin with all the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Sun in Capricorn, creating this grounded, practical, let's get things done energy. But by the end of the month, Mercury, Venus, and Mars have all shifted into Aquarius, completely transforming the vibe from traditional to revolutionary. And here's what makes this month extraordinary. First, we have Saturn at the very last degrees of Pisces all month long. Saturn moves from 26 degrees to 28 degrees Pisces through January. Saturn had been in Pisces since March 2023, teaching us lessons about spirituality, compassion, boundaries with the formless, and mastering our emotions. January represents the final exam. Whatever spiritual lessons you've been learning since 2023, January is when you demonstrate mastery. In real life, this looks like finally getting or setting healthy boundaries with that energy draining friend or family member. It's finishing that creative or spiritual project you've started years ago. It's realizing you can be compassionate without being a martyr. Second, we have the Neptune also sitting at the very end of Pisces, preparing for its historic shift into Aries on January 26th. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. That's 14 years. For many of you watching this, Neptune has been in Pisces your entire adult life. Neptune in Pisces brought us the rise of social media, filtered reality, increased addiction and escapism, but also massive spiritual awakening, meditation going mainstream, the spiritual but not religious movement. All of that, Neptune in Pisces. On January 26th, Neptune enters Aries for the first time in 165 years. None of us have experienced this. This is once in multiple lifetimes astrology. And third, we have Jupiter retrograde in Cancer all month. Jupiter moves backward from 21 degrees to 17 degrees Cancer. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer at its absolute strongest, but it's retrograde, which means the expansion is internal rather than external. This is the month for reviewing your emotional growth, reevaluating home and family matters, and going deeper into what truly makes you feel secure. Fourth, Uranus stations direct on January 30th at 27 degrees Taurus. Uranus has been retrograde since September 2025, asking us to internally review our values, finances, and material security. On January 30th, Uranus starts its preparation for the direct motion, and we can start implementing the changes we've been contemplating. And fifth, Pluto is moving direct through early Aquarius, continuing its 20-year transformation of collective consciousness, technology, and power structures. So that's the setup. Now let's go week by week and day by day. So we begin 2026 with heavy Capricorn energy. The Sun is in Capricorn until the 19th, and all three personal planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, are in Capricorn at the start of the month. The Sun is here until January 19th. Mercury and Mars, January 20th, January 23rd, and Venus up until January 18th. This is maximum Capricorn energy, ambition, discipline, structure, responsibility, building things that last. Mercury in Capricorn. January 2nd to January 20th. Mercury governs how we think, communicate, learn, and process information. In Capricorn, Mercury is practical, strategic, realistic, and focused on results. So from January 1st, 2nd to January 19th, 20th, your thinking will be goal-oriented and practical, focused on what actually works, strategic about time and resources, and less emotional and more logical. Then Venus is in Capricorn. On January 1st, Venus is already there. It's been there since December. It is now at 11 degrees and moves out of Capricorn by January 17th, January 18th. Venus governs love, relationships, beauty, values, money. In Capricorn, Venus is mature, practical, loyal, and focused on commitment. So your approach to love is more serious and less frivolous. It's focused on long-term potential, appreciating reliability in partners, attracted to mature and accomplished people. And then finally, Mars in Capricorn throughout January up until the 23rd. This is about disciplined action. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It functions at its absolute best here. So Mars in Capricorn is like a seasoned general with a detailed battle plan. It's strategic, disciplined, enduring, ambitious, and unstoppable. So you will have incredible focus on long-term goals, stamina and endurance, strategic thinking, ability to delay gratification for bigger rewards. So the Capricorn Stellium for you, Gemini, is in your 8th house. The 8th house governs joint finances and shared resources, taxes and inheritance, intimate psychological bonding, death and rebirth, other people's money, power dynamics in relationships, and deep transformation. For Gemini rising, serious conversations about money with partners or investors are going to crop during this time. Or you can start thinking strategically about debt, taxes, or shared finances. For example, you sit down with your spouse to create a detailed budget for joint expenses, or you start researching refinancing option for your mortgage, and schedule a meeting with a financial advisor about investment accounts. Or if you are a Gemini sun, your identity starts focusing now on mastering shared resources and power dynamics. You start now to desire to understand deep psychological patterns. For example, maybe you start researching therapy options and commit to weekly sessions, or you start diving deep into understanding your relationship patterns and have honest conversations about intimacy and vulnerability with your partner. And if you're a Gemini moon, you now see emotional security through financial stability in partnerships. Or maybe you start needing to feel in control of shared resources. For example, you could be feeling anxious about joint credit card debts, for example. So you start creating a detailed payoff plan with specific timelines and immediately feel emotionally lighter once the strategy is in place. This is these are a couple of examples of how these energies in this stellium in Capricorn um, can manifest for you. On January 2nd, there is a full moon in Cancer at 13 degrees. The moon governs our emotions, instincts, subconscious patterns, nurturing needs, sense of safety and security, and how we process feelings. It represents our inner world, our relationship with money, family, our need for comfort, and our emotional responses to life. Full moons specifically bring illumination, culmination, release, and emotional clarity. What was hidden becomes visible, and situations reach their peak. So, the first major lunar event of 2026 is this one. This full moon is significant because it's the wolf moon, it's the traditional name for January's full moon. It's conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. It is a big orb though. But Jupiter at 20 degrees Cancer does amplify this energy. It opposes the Sun in Capricorn, so your work, home, public, private achievement, nurturing tension. Full moons bring things to light, create emotional peaks, and often bring situations to completion. So, in general, what you might experience for all of us would be strong emotions about family or home situations, realizations about what you need to feel emotionally secure, family gatherings or important conversations, home related news or decisions, and heightened intuition and emotional sensitivity. This full moon asks us all, what do you need to feel at home in your own life? So this full moon in Cancer on January 3rd is at 13 degrees Cancer. So the Sun is at 13 degrees Capricorn, opposing the Moon at 13 degrees Cancer. Jupiter at 20 degrees Cancer, also here, conjuncts the Moon within a 7-degree orb. So you will be most effective if you have planets or angles at 11 to 15 degrees Cancer, as the Moon is conjunct those planets. So you can see emotional culmination, family home revelations. If you are 11 to 15 degrees Capricorn, the Sun is conjunct this full moon. So career, public life illuminated there. If you have any planets or angles at 11 to 15 degrees Aries, There is a square now from both the sun and the moon, so there will be some tension between independence and family versus career demands. And same for Libra, 11 to 15 degrees. The square from both sun and the moon can see some relationship needs versus home work balance challenge there. And if you are anything between 17, 18 degrees to 22 degrees Cancer, Jupiter is also conjunct this full moon for you within a 7-degree orb. So you can see blessings in your home, family, and emotional abundance in general. Now, if you also have planets at between 18 and 22 degrees Cancer specifically, Jupiter is directly conjunct them during this full moon, creating an extra blessing in home, family, and emotional realm. So this can see some beautiful manifestations through family gatherings, home improvement gifts or opportunities, emotional healing that feels miraculous, family member bringing good news, or feeling abundantly supported and loved. Your home situation can be improving significantly at this date. Pregnancy, if that's your path, it's also possible. Family, financial support, or inheritance in general. So if we now move on to the second and third week of January, so let's say from the 18th to the 21st of January, that's when the great shift begins. So let's start first with January 18th. There is a new moon in Capricorn. New moons mark fresh starts, new beginnings, intention setting, and planting seeds for the future. When the sun and the moon align in the sky, it creates a powerful portal for manifesting, initiating projects, and committing to new paths. New moons are about potential, possibilities, and consciously choosing what you want to grow in your life over the next lunar cycle. This is extraordinarily significant because 20 degrees Capricorn is an anaretic degree. It carries wisdom of entire sign. New moons represent new beginnings. It's the best time to set intentions. And final Capricorn new moon before the sun enters in Aquarius the next day. So set intentions around career goals, long-term legacy, structures and systems, responsibility, authority, achievement. This new moon says to all of us, build something that will last. All right, now for you Gemini, the new moon in Capricorn is in your 8th house. This house governs shared resources, intimacy, transformation, and depth. So this new moon marks a profound commitment to transformation and depth. Whether you're a Gemini rising ready to merge resources with a partner, or Gemini sun diving into psychological work, or a Gemini moon seeking emotional intimacy, you're planting seeds in the realm of what's shared, hidden, and transformative. This new moon for you is about moving beyond surface level interactions into real vulnerability and power. So if I would give you a specific example of that, this could see you scheduling your first session with a therapist or a financial advisor. committing to at least 12 sessions to work through a specific issue, like debt consolidation or trauma processing or intimacy blocks. Or another example for this new moon in the eighth house for you is you could be, sitting down with your spouse to create a joint investment strategy, discussing retirement goals with actual numbers or timelines for major purchases, and a plan to pay off your mortgage 5 years early. So this new moon energy is around being in the eighth house, could be about this type of could be manifesting in this type of examples that I've given. On the same day, on January 18th, Venus enters Aquarius, leaves Capricorn and enters Aquarius. Venus governs love, relationships, attraction, beauty, pleasure, values, money, art, and what brings us joy. It shows how we give and receive affection, what we find beautiful, how we relate to others, and what we value most. Venus represents our capacity for connection, harmony, aesthetics, and the quality of sweetness in life. Basically, everything that makes life worth living. This is a dramatic shift in the energy of love, relationships, and values. So Venus was in Capricorn up to January 17th, when it showed us a serious, committed, practical, traditional, mature way of living. With Venus in Aquarius from January 18th, we become or start seeing a more free-spirited, unconventional, friendship-oriented, independent, and innovative way of life. Practically after January 18th, there is a desire for more freedom in general for all of us in partnerships, attraction to unique people, intellectual connection mattering more than chemistry. Now, when Venus enters Aquarius on January 18th, it enters your ninth house, Gemini. The ninth house is higher education, philosophy, travel, expansion, meaning. So Venus expands your horizons through learning and exploration. Whether you're a Gemini rising, falling in love with new ideas, a Gemini sun, finding identity through intellectual adventure, or a Gemini moon, emotionally stimulated by psychological growth, you're attracted to what expands your worldview. Learning becomes pleasurable, and you may find romance with someone from a different background. To give you a couple of specific examples for this energy of Venus entering your ninth house in Aquarius. So you could be booking a trip to somewhere culturally different, or you could see you drawn to unique experiences rather than tourist traps. Or you could be enrolling in a course not for career reasons, but pure interest, like astronomy, philosophy, or art history. If you're dating, you can be attracted to someone with a different worldview or cultural background or educational path. You could be attending lectures, workshops, or cultural events that expand your perspective. Or you could just simply be spending more money on books, courses, or travel that enriches your mind. And then one day after that, on January 19th, Sun will enter Aquarius. As you can see now, almost all planets have moved back from Capricorn into Aquarius. The Sun governs our core identity, the life force, vitality, ego, conscious will, and sense of purpose. It represents who we are in essence, our creative self-expression, and how we shine in the world. The sun shows what gives us energy, what we are here to become, and the qualities we're developing throughout our lifetime. It's our central organizing principle. It's the I am at the heart of our being. Sun shifts from Capricorn into Aquarius, from traditional to revolutionary. Aquarius Sun energy speaks about innovation, progress, community, individuality, technology, freedom, intellectual stimulation. So when the Sun enters Aquarius, for you, Gemini, the Sun will be in your ninth house. So we'll follow a Venus here. If you're a Gemini rising, this transit expands your horizons through learning, travel, and psychological exploration. This can see you hungry for knowledge that challenges your existing worldview and opens new possibilities. Gemini Sun expresses can see themselves expressing their identity through teaching, publishing, or exploring different cultures and belief systems. And then on January 20th, we have the golden window for the Saturn Sextile Uranus. This has been active since December, I would say, with a very extended orb, say around 5 degrees orb, September 25th, and it will still going to continue to be felt until February 13th, give or take. But January 20th, it's very exact. The orb, it's very exact. Because Saturn is at 27 degrees. Is at 27 degrees Pisces, and Uranus is at 27 degrees Taurus. 27 degrees 32 minutes, 27 degrees 38 minutes. Very, very close. This is it. It's exact. Basically, what this represents for all of us is an opportunity for sustainable innovation, practical revolution, revolutionary and responsible changes, and structured creativity. So the key question here that we are being asked by this Saturn Sextile Uranus aspect is, what's one significant change I can make that's both revolutionary, Uranus, and responsible, Saturn? Now, Gemini, for you, Saturn on the 20th of January is in Pisces in your 10th house, making a sextile to Uranus in Taurus in your 12th house. So the 10th house is the career house, 12th house is more of a spiritual house. So if you're a Gemini rising, this sextile connects your career, ambitious, with spiritual work happening behind the scenes. You're building professional structures that allow time for inner development, or bringing spiritual insights into your public work responsibly. Gemini Sun expresses identity through work that honors both material achievement and spiritual depth. Or Gemini Moon, if you're a Gemini Moon, you can find emotional security when career success doesn't require sacrificing your inner life. So, to give you an example, this can see you, Gemini, negotiating boundaries at work that protect time for, say, therapy or meditation or creative solitude, or, maybe just leaving by 5 p.m. It's non negotiable, or blocking lunch breaks for walks and reflection, something like that. Or you might be integrating spiritual practices into your professional life by starting meetings with mindful moments, or you build a business around wellness and healing with proper credentialing and business systems. This could also be seeing you making steady progress in your career while simultaneously doing deep inner work, and you're finding that they support each other rather than compete for your energy. On January 20th, Mercury enters Aquarius. Mercury governs communication, thinking, learning, information processing. It also governs short trips, siblings, and the exchange of ideas. It represents how our mind works, how we speak and write, how we learn and teach, and how we connect the dots. Mercury is the messenger, the translator, the networker. It's about gathering information, making connections, and expressing what we know. Mercury shifts from Capricorn strategic thinking to Aquarius innovative thinking. So from January 20th until February 7th, Mercury in Aquarius is asking us to think outside the box, to get to be interested in science and technology, to be direct and authentic communicators, to be inventive problem solvers. So, for you, Gemini, when Mercury enters Aquarius on January 20th and joins the party with with the Sun and Venus already there, it joins the party into the ninth house of higher education, travel, or philosophy. So if you're Gemini rising, Mercury, which is your ruling planet, expands your intellectual horizons with unconventional learning and psychological exploration. This can see you hungry for knowledge that challenges mainstream thinking. Or if you're a Gemini sun, you can be feeling most alive when learning cutting edge subjects or engaging with diverse perspectives that broaden your worldview. Gemini moon could be processing emotions through intellectual adventure now, and it can see you fulfilling or feeling fulfilled when conversations explore big ideas or different cultures or future possibilities. So, for example, this can see you diving into books, podcasts, or courses about progressive topics: artificial intelligence, quantum physics, alternative education models, or social innovation. Or you might be planning trips to places known for technological or cultural innovation. This could see you researching very thoroughly and creating educational itineraries. During this time, conversations will shift from gossip to philosophy for Geminis. This can see you debating ideas about the future of humanity, questioning belief systems, or exploring spiritual practices from different traditions. You are mentally stimulated now by anything that expands your understanding beyond your immediate experience, and you are eager to share these insights through writing, teaching, or animated discussions. And now, moving on to the final week of January. Final days. January 23rd is basically from January 23rd to January 26th is the Aquarius conversions and Neptune's historic shift. On January 23rd, it is Mars who enters Aquarius. Mars governs action, drive, energy, passion, anger, desire, assertion, and how we pursue what we want. It represents our warrior spirit, our physical vitality, our courage, competitiveness. Mars shows how we take initiative, how we defend ourselves, how we express anger, and how we channel our willpower. It's the planet of action, motivation, and forward momentum. Pure drive and desire made manifest. So Mars shifts from disciplined Capricorn to rebellious Aquarius. So Mars in Aquarius from January 23rd to March 4th. It's action motivated by ideals, fighting for causes, independent approach to goals, innovation in how you pursue your desires. For all of us, it is a completely transformed vibe from traditional to revolutionary. And now all personal planets are in Aquarius. The Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. For you, Gemini, Mars entering Aquarius on January 23rd will be joining the party in the ninth house of your higher education, could propel you toward intellectual and physical expansion. Whether you're a Gemini rising pursuing knowledge aggressively, or a Gemini sun finding identity through psychological rebellion, or a Gemini moon emotionally energized by new ideas, you are motivated to break free from limiting beliefs and explore radically new territory. Learning and travel become adventures now. So, to give you a specific example, this might see you, dear Gemini, booking a spontaneous trip to somewhere you've never been, or planning minimal but ready for adventure type of trips. You can be enrolling in an intensive course or workshop that challenges your worldview, maybe a philosophical retreat, or a coding boot camp, or cultural immersion program. These might see you getting into heated debates about beliefs or passionately defending new perspective that you have adopted. Um, may, Geminis are now motivated to learn something controversial or cutting edge. Um, you could be reading ferociously and sharing what you learn assertively. Geminis will now challenge authority in educational or religious contexts. And now, on January 26th, the Neptune enters Aries. This is a historic game changer. This is a once in 165 years historic event. Now, Neptune. It governs spirituality, dreams, imagination, illusions, compassion, transcendence, surrender, mysticism, and the dissolution of boundaries. It represents our connection to the divine, our capacity for unconditional love, our artistic inspiration, and our desire to merge with something greater than ourselves. Neptune can be both the highest spiritual vision and the deepest delusion. It's where we seek meaning beyond the material world. Neptune enters Aries at 0 degrees for the first time since 1861 1875. This is a fundamental shift. Until now, Aries was in Pisces, and it was saying dissolve your ego. Well, Neptune in Aries will now say take spiritual action. Neptune in Pisces was saying surrender to the flow. Neptune in Aries is now saying be a warrior for your beliefs. Or Neptune in Pisces was saying we are all one. Neptune in Aries is now saying have courage to pursue your dreams. What January 26 means for all of us, we will all feel something shift, a sudden courage, a calling to fight for a cause, or impatience with passive practices. Now, when Neptune enters Aries on January 26th for you, Gemini, it will be entering your 11th house of friendships, groups, community, future vision, and social networks. Neptune spiritualizes your community involvement and your future vision now. Whether you're a Gemini rising, finding spiritual family in activist groups, or a Gemini sun, discovering identity through collective action, or a Gemini moon, feeling emotionally fulfilled by fighting for shared dreams. You are being called to visionary activism and spiritual community over the next 13 years. Your friendships become your spiritual path. To give you a couple of more specific examples, you can be drawn now to join or create communities organized around spiritual activism, or groups fighting for justice with meditation as foundation, or environmental groups combining ceremony with action, or artistic collectives creating culture that awakens consciousness. Your long term goals shift now from personal success to collective transformation. You begin having visions of the future that you want to create, not just yourself, but for your generation. And you courageously share these visions with others who are ready to co create. Throughout the entire month of January, Uranus has been a retrograde in Taurus. And at the end of the month, it's starting to prepare for its direct station in Taurus. Uranus governs revolution, innovation, sudden change, awakening, rebellion, independence, technology, and liberation. It represents breakthroughs, genius insights, unconventional thinking, and the drive to break free from limitation. Uranus disrupts the status quo, bringing unexpected events that shake us awake and force evolution. It's the planet of progress, individuality, and a radical authenticity. It change happens suddenly but leads to freedom. Uranus now is at its final degrees in its 7-year journey in Taurus. It's been retrograding since September last year. It's now getting ready to station direct. It will happen exactly at the beginning of February. But that we can start feeling its direct motion effects. And what that will bring is basically a forward movement that it's activating in finances, values, material resources, technology, and lifestyle, which is what Taurus represents. Changes you can now implement, all of us in general, while Uranus is getting ready to move direct, are new jobs, investment strategies, lifestyle changes, and technology upgrades. For you, Gemini, Uranus is retrograde in your 12th house and getting ready at the end of the month to turn direct, which will happen very early in February. But you can start feeling this direct or forward motion bubbling to happen. Uranus getting ready to be direct in your hidden realm basically accelerates spiritual awakening and subconscious transformation. Whether you're a Gemini rising, prepare for emergence next month, or a Gemini sun finding identity through unconventional spirituality, or a Gemini moon emotionally healing through inner work, you can now actively start engaging practices you've been exploring. Inner revolution now starting to gain momentum. To give you a specific example, you can during this time you can start committing to a daily meditation practice using brainwave technology or apps that you tested during this retrograde that happened in started in September last year, or begin therapy focused on subconscious patterns with a modality like hypnotherapy, or simply join a spiritual community that combines ancient wisdom with modern approaches. You might start working now on creative projects in solitude that you will reveal next month or maybe next year, or engage in retreat experiences that combine silence with innovation. Dreams become clearer. You start recording them and noticing patterns. The spiritual path you've been questioning now becomes your committed practice. Now let's have a look at Jupiter. Jupiter is also, let's have a look, Jupiter here. It's also been retrograding the entire month in Cancer. Jupiter governs expansion, growth, wisdom, optimism, faith, abundance, higher learning, and the search for meaning. It represents our capacity for hope, generosity, philosophical understanding, and the principle that life is fundamentally benevolent. Jupiter shows where we seek to grow, what we believe in, how we find meaning, and our relationship with luck and opportunity. When a retrograde, Jupiter turns growth inward, developing internal wealth, wisdom, and faith rather than external expansion. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, but it's being retrograding, so it's about internal expansion. What you're experiencing, what you can be experiencing, or all of us can be experiencing during this time, is internal emotional growth or reviewing home and family matters, building internal security. The blessings are happening inside ourselves this month. So, in general, Jupiter, the most activated degrees this month are from 17 to 21 degrees because Jupiter is retrograde from 21 to 17 degrees Cancer throughout January 2026, until it will station direct. It will continue its retrograde motion during next month as well. So um, let's dive a little bit deeper into understanding Jupiter retrograde. When Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, and wisdom, it's retrograde, the growth turns inward. Instead of external opportunities and blessings, you are experiencing internal expansion, physical deepening, emotional wisdom, spiritual growth. Jupiter in Cancer retrograde specifically means reviewing your emotional needs, your family relationships, your sense of home, and what truly makes you feel secure. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. This means Jupiter functions at its absolute best in Cancer. Even retrograde, Jupiter in Cancer brings blessings, but they're internal, private, and emotional rather than external and visible. This entire month is perfect for emotional healing, family reconciliation, inner work on security issues, and understanding what home truly means to you. Don't expect external expansion just yet. That comes after Jupiter goes direct in March. January is about internal emotional abundance. All month Jupiter retrograde in Cancer brings internal blessings like emotional intelligence. This can see you understanding feelings deeply, becoming emotionally wiser. It can bring family healing, internal shifts in family relating, even without external conversations. It can bring home appreciation, gratitude for where you live. It can bring nurturing capacity, so you can become better at caring for self and others. It can bring you security, wisdom, understanding what truly creates security for you. It can be about feeling connected to your ancestral lineage, or in general, it's inner wealth. It's about your emotional abundance regardless of the externals. So use January for internal work. External manifestations comes in March when Jupiter goes direct. For you, Gemini, Jupiter retrogrades throughout the month in your second house of personal finances, resources, your self-worth, values, material security. Jupiter retrograde in your financial sector means or creates internal expansion of self-worth and values. Whether you're a Gemini rising, reviewing what you truly value, or a Gemini sun, finding identity through clarifying worth, or a Gemini moon, emotionally secure through developing internal value, you are growing financially and philosophically on the inside. Big purchases or income changes await. Self-worth develops now. To give you some specific examples of this influence, this energy in your second house from Jupiter retrograde, this can see you examining your relationship with money and worth deeply. You can be noticing now where you undervalue yourself. You can be questioning whether your spending aligns with your true values, or realizing your self-worth isn't tied to bank balance. You might be reviewing your financial goals during this time and recognize some were based on external expectations rather than authentic desires. You are building internal sense of abundance and worth that will attract better opportunities later when Jupiter turns direct. This isn't the month to make big financial moves, but to understand what you truly value. Now, throughout the month, we're also having Saturn in Pisces at its final degrees. Saturn governs structure, discipline, responsibility, maturity, limitations, time, authority, and mastery through effort. It represents our relationship with reality, hard work, long term commitment, and the principle that growth requires patience and dedication. Saturn shows where we must mature, what we're building over time, and where we face our greatest tests. It's the wise teacher who demands excellence. It's the taskmaster who creates lasting achievement through disciplined effort. Saturn is now completing a 2.5 year journey through Pisces, and it will enter Aries next month. We are all now being asked to complete our spiritual projects, to master boundaries with compassion, and to release martyrdom patterns. Now, for you, Gemini, Saturn throughout the month is in its latest degrees of Pisces in your 10th house of career, public reputation, legacy, and professional responsibility. Saturn's final tests in your career sector involve completing professional lessons and mastering your public role. Whether you're a Gemini rising, finalizing career structures, a Gemini sun, embodying professional maturity, or a Gemini moon, finding emotional fulfillment through meaningful work, you are demonstrating what you've learned about leadership with compassion. Next month, Saturn moves to expansion. Now you prove your professional mastery. So, to give you a couple of very specific examples of how this can manifest for you, Saturn in your 10th house of career or public reputation. This can see you completing major work projects, or finalizing your professional reputation, or making financial decisions about career direction after 2.5 years of testing. You might be recognized for the discipline and maturity you've demonstrated, or realize that a professional path you've worked toward no longer serves your soul. You're mastering the balance between ambition and compassion, success and integrity, achievement and authenticity. The career foundation you complete now supports long-term legacy beyond this month. And let's have a look at Pluto now. Pluto, again, all month long, it will be in Aquarius. Pluto governs transformation, death and rebirth, power, the unconscious, obsession, and the process of deep fundamental change. It represents what must die so something new can be born, where we experience power and powerlessness, and our capacity for profound psychological transformation. Pluto digs beneath the surface to expose truth, eliminates what's no longer viable, and catalyzes complete metamorphosis. It's the planet of evolution through crisis, of intensity through healing, and empowerment through facing our shadows. Transforming collective consciousness, technology, power structures throughout from 2026 to 2043. So the themes of Pluto in Aquarius in general is technology's role in society, power in networks, collective movements, so for you, Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius is transiting the entire month your ninth house. Of higher education, philosophy, beliefs, travel, meaning, truth. Pluto's journey through your wisdom sector transforms your entire belief system and quest for meaning. Whether you are Gemini rising experiencing philosophical death and rebirth, or Gemini sun finding your identity through revolutionary beliefs, or Gemini moon emotionally awakened by truth seeking, you are deconstructing and rebuilding your worldview. Everything you thought you knew is up for examination now. So this could see you that your beliefs will be completely transformed. Like religious or philosophical system that you relied on may crumble now or replaced by personally tested truth. Higher education might involve cutting edge subjects, transformative learning experiences, or teaching that awakens others. You might be traveling, and travel during this time will or can transform you profoundly rather than entertaining you specifically. Um, you might become obsessed with understanding how collective consciousness evolves, or you could be studying psychology, sociology, or emerging paradigms. By the end of this transit, your relationship with truth, meaning, and belief will be unrecognizable and authentically yours. And finally, the North and South Node. The North Node is in Pisces, and the South Node is in Virgo. The lunar nodes are the points where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic, marking our soul's evolutionary path. The North Node shows where we're growing, the new skills, the attitudes, and experiences we are meant to develop in this lifetime. The South Node represents our comfort zone, natural talents, and past patterns that we must release to evolve. The nodes reveal our karmic direction, what we are moving toward, the North, and what we're moving away from, the South Node. They show the fundamental tension between comfortable habits and necessary growth. So the North Node is about surrender, compassion, creativity, and faith. The South Node is about releasing perfectionism, overanalysis, and control. Collectively, we are asked to trust more, control less, feel more, analyze less, due to the nodes being in Pisces and Virgo. That would be a general understanding. Now, Gemini, for you, the nodes in Pisces and Virgo are in your North Node is in your 10th house, and your South Node is in your 4th house. Your evolution story is from private perfectionism to public compassion. Your soul's growth involves releasing perfectionist control at home and embracing compassionate leadership publicly. Whether you're a Gemini rising stepping into public service, or a Gemini sun finding identity through inspired career, or a Gemini moon emotionally fulfilled by a meaningful professional contribution, this time you are being called to lead with heart and intuition, not just competence and analysis. Trust your vision. During this time, you could be learning to stop over organizing your private life and instead channel energy into public work that serves collective good, possibly in healing professions, creative leadership, or roles that combine spirituality with public service. Your career becomes less about proving competence and more about following calling, even when the path isn't perfectly mapped. You might take professional risks based on intuition rather than detailed analysis, trusting that your compassionate approach to leadership matters more than having every detail controlled. And that's January 2026 for you. Quick recap of your power dates. January 3rd, full moon emotions peak. January 18th, new moon, set your intentions. January 20th, Saturn Sextile Uranus, your golden window for sustainable change. January 26th, Neptune Enters Aries, once in 165 years. Feel that shift. January 30th, Uranus is preparing to move direct after months of retrograde. It changes finally move forward. If you want a full deep dive, 90 minutes plus, covering your entire 2026, link is in the description and pinned in the comment. Drop your rising sign below, hit like if this helped, subscribe for February's forecast, and remember, the stars don't control you, they inform you. What you do with this energy is up to you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.